In this video, I'm going to show some tips and tricks for the Manage Forms card in the MnSHIP application. I'm already logged in, so I'm going to open up my dashboard. I'm going to open up Manage Forms. And in the Manage Forms card, it includes all the properties that have been submitted by the organization that I belong to in the application. So anything that's been submitted by my organization in the application is going to be in here, regardless of its workflow status. So you'll see here, there's a number of filters that you can use to winnow down the table of properties. So if you want to get to a specific property, you can use these filters to get to it. The historic inventory number is pretty self-evident, but it's just be entering in the particular historic inventory number, and then it would just reduce it to just that particular property. The workflow status has to do with where that form is in the overall workflow. So when a form is first created, it's draft status. Once it gets submitted to SHPO for QA/QC purposes, it is then in submitted status. If SHPO looks at the form and decides that there's some additional edits that need to be done to it before they can accept it, it gets kicked back to the submitter, and then it's edits requested status. When the submitter makes edits and then resubmits it to SHPO for QA/QC, the status changes to resubmitted. Once SHPO reviews it and they decide that they would like to accept the form is then accepted. If the form that is being worked on is an update, then its initial status is draft update. But then thereafter, all these other statuses of accepted, edits requested, resubmitted are exactly the same. This date field here, when you search by this, it shows you all of the forms in the that have a date that is from this date going forward, so between today and that date. The historic name searches, I'm going to clear my results. The historic name searches the historic name, and if any part of what you put in is in the historic name, then it shows up in the results. The ERP number is a SHPO review field, so this would generally only get populated once the property has gone through the full SHPO review. The CLG legacy grant number and working project title and tax credit project number are all things that are added by the submitter. And as I mentioned in an earlier video, be sure to, if you have a number of properties that are all submitted for a single undertaking, be sure that they have exactly the same working project title. If you do that, then when you search by that particular title, you're going to get all those properties for that particular project. If you have slight differences in the working project title, you're not necessarily going to get everything associated with that undertaking. So be sure to have the same project working title. Same goes true for the agency project number, which is also added by the submitter. So if you have a whole bunch of those that are all submitted for a particular undertaking that has an agency project number, make sure that the agency project number is the same for all of those. The preparer name is just the person that has filled out the form itself. So in this case, it searches for everybody with that last name. Additionally, you can search by these two spatial filters and look at all the properties that are in Beltrami County, for instance, or in any of the cities or township in the state. One additional feature that we have is the ability to export. So what you can do is you can export this table. You can do that as a CSV, so comma separated value. And then from there, you can do any additional sort of manipulation to this. And when you have it as a CSV, it's always good practice to save it as an Excel document first, and then do any sort of sorting or manipulation so that you don't run into the issues that, the limitations that CSVs have. Additionally, if you want to export what the search results table as a shapefile, you can do that. Now, when you do this, it's going to create a shapefile for all the properties with point geometry, all the ones with line geometry, all the ones with polygon geometry, and so on. So you'll need to look at those various zipped shapefiles to capture all of the geometry types that are in the search results. So this is the only part of the application where you're actually able to export spatial data out of it. The idea being that if your organization are the ones that submitted the GIS information, the spatial data, so it makes sense for them to be able to get it out. Additionally, there's some functionality on this table. You can sort by clicking, ascending or descending by clicking these various headers. You can also adjust the width of the tables itself.